Welcome back to PPC Hot Takes. In this episode, I have my great friend, Devon Thomas, who's joining me. You may have seen him on my channel before. He's a fellow Google Ads expert and YouTuber, and he works with a lot of small business owners with his training course and community to help them generate leads through Google Ads. Thank you so much for joining me, Devon, today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's always fun to be on your channel because I know we have such great conversations.
And we are going to have a very great conversation today. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into your PPC hot take. So, would you like to share with everyone what we are going to be diving in? What do you feel really strongly about in terms of your unpopular opinion with Google Ads?
Oh man, where do I start? All right, so over the past few years, so many people have come to me and told me that optimization score is important because they've spoken to a Google ad rep or they've spoken to someone at their marketing agency. And I'm here to tell each and every single one of you, dear viewers, that optimization score is just a big, fat, juicy lie from Google. I can't stand it. It is some of it's one of those things that just it crawls under my skin when I hear people put so much importance on optimization score, and yet they just there's nothing that proves that it actually matters in the grand scheme of things. And that's what we're going to be discussing today.
So that's a very strong opinion. Optimization score is one big fat lie. Let's go ahead and dive in here. So anyone that's watching this video might already be aware of optimization score within Google Ads because they've probably been watching some tutorials. But anyone that is not aware of optimization score, can you please explain briefly what it is and how it works?
All right. So, as I said before, optimization score is a lie, but I'll explain to you what it looks like in your ads campaign. So, when you log into your Google Ads dashboard, you'll look at the top and you'll see big, it's written over there. Your optimization score is 66% or it's 80%. And basically, what Google Ads will do is they'll say, hey, let's help you push this up and get it to 100%. So it's one of those things that is constantly on your Google Ads dashboard. You're not going to be able to move it. In fact, if you go to every single screen, at the top of your screen, you'll probably still see optimization score. And the weird thing about this is it doesn't only live on your Google Ads dashboard, because sometimes you'll get an email from Google Ads saying, oh, hey, John, by the way, this week, your optimization score has dropped. And here are a couple of key things that you can do to increase your optimization score. So even if you're not in the Google Ads dashboard, you still get those emails in your inbox. And even if you have the Google Ads app on your phone, you'll get those alerts as well. So there's no escaping it. You probably, if you run Google Ads and you've been doing it for a while, you've probably seen one or two alerts about optimization score.
And within the optimization score, what does it actually grade you on?
Okay, that's a very good question. So there's a section about budgets and bidding. There's a section about automation. So basically, what Google does is they group all of these together in these little industry buzzwords. So obviously, as an advertiser, you're concerned about your budget. You want to know that you're spending the adequate amount for your company size. And you also want to know that the guy down the street is not going to be bidding more for customers that you want to get in your shop or you want to get in your business. And what Google does is they're very clever because they tell you that by making slight tweaks to your budget, let's be kind, slight tweaks to your budget. Like, for example, if you're spending $260 per day, they might say, hey, if you want your optimization score to be 5% better, how about you push that up to about, I don't know, $5,000, and then you'll get a really good optimization score. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is the optimization score. You'll be able to find it within the recommendations tab on Google. If you go to the right side of your dashboard, you'll find the recommendations, and Google has set that up so then it's as easy as clicking on one button to make changes. I mean, maybe it's two because you have to click on viewing the recommendation and then actually, applying it. But Google will just take the liberty after you actually just view it to give you the option to apply it. And Google will then make the optimization for you and claim that, okay, well, we can increase your optimization score and you can get these benefits, but ultimately who's benefiting the most from it?
Google is. That's the
Yeah.
that's the short answer. Google is benefiting from it, definitely. And if I may, I'm just gonna go off on a tangent over here because it sucks to sit down with business owners that are trying their absolute best, that are trying to follow exactly what Google is telling them to do, and watching them lose not only hundreds of dollars, but sometimes thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, because they're following these quote unquote best practices from Google. But in actual fact, it's just the casino trying to get you to spend more money. There's nothing really that optimization is going to give you that you can't do already just with a well-run campaign. And it's so hard to explain that to people because here's little Devon or here's little Michelle, and we have a solo business, and they're thinking to us, man, you're not smarter than Google. You're not smarter than AI. You don't have
Hmm.
all of the answers. I'm sure the smart people at Google have figured it out. But what I want to tell you, if you're watching this, is it's not that they figured it out, is that they figured you out. They've got psychologists on staff. They've got people who do this for a living, and they know that if they give you an incentive, if they give you a little score to follow, and tell you do this so you can get a full score, your mind is going to go, wow, if I do this and I do this and I do this, I might get a full score. And hopefully then the customer will walk through the door, or hopefully then my phone will ring. But I've got ample evidence to show you that that is not the case, my friends.
Yeah, honestly, the way that I look at it, it's a way that Google gamified the system to make it look like it's a fun way to like optimize. And by the way, we made it super easy, and all you have to do is just agree to these terms, whether it's through an email saying I agree to let my Google rep make these changes or apply these changes immediately to my account, or you going into the recommendations tab to go about doing it. I believe that this was invented with the opti score optimization score was invented, of course, to increase the revenue for Google, but at the same time it makes the reps jobs easier so that they can pretty much trick small business owners to think that their ads are actually performing well. Oh, we have an internal score at Google and you've got a 34%. That's an F rating. That's like you failed. Like, go ahead and, apply these changes and then you'll bring it up to a 90 or 100%. And the gold standard is 100%. That's what the goal is for all of, that's what Google is telling all the advertisers. And what I've seen from a lot of PPC consultants and agencies that had this Google partner badge that used to be a very coveted badge back then,
Yes.
pretty much
Yes.
saying like, oh, hey, we've got people on our team that have been certified. We have all these great, things we've been recognized by Google. But now to even keep the Google partner badge, you need to have a certain percentage of score on your Google Ads account in optimization score on your Google Ads account in order to even be a Google partner. So basically, Google wants you to drink the Kool-Aid and apply these changes to your clients' accounts so that you can keep your Google partner badge.
And can I just say this? Can I just say this? I'm really gunning. Like, I even brought along screenshots to prove to you guys that optimization score is
Would you like to share your screen?
complete BS. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen, and then after that, we're gonna have a little talk about Google and their practices. So, okay. So if you saw me looking up, it wasn't because I was ignoring Michelle, it's because I was getting the screenshot ready for you guys. Are you guys ready for this? Can you see this? Let me make
I can see
this
it.
big, right? So we've got optimization score over here of 99.9%. And as you can see, this campaign has done nothing for the past 7 days. And yet the optimization score is like full. You can't get a better optimization score. Now, dear viewer, if you're watching this, would you like to get a full optimization score, or would you actually like to get some calls and some leads in your business? Or maybe even some clicks on your ads? This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. I had another client as well. Unfortunately, I don't have that screenshot prepared, where the client had spent about $5,000, $2,000, had gotten absolutely no clients whatsoever, no booked calls whatsoever, and yet they had a perfect 100% optimization score. So if this doesn't prove it to you, I don't know what will, but I just thought it would be super interesting to share that with you, because there are so many people complaining about the same thing. All you have to do is do a little bit of research. Optimization score is a completely made up, bogus thing.
And here's a little hack for you too, especially if you want to see higher optimization scores. All you need to do is go into your recommendations tab and just dismiss every single
Dismiss.
recommendation.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
you'll have a 100% optimization score.
So
So
just to rehash what Michelle said over there, if you go to your optimization score and it comes up with these little suggestions, when you click on dismiss, you'll actually see it's pushing the score up. So this is not just us telling you that it doesn't matter. Even Google knows that it doesn't matter, because if you completely don't apply what they're telling you to apply, they're still going to give you a high score. It's like the perfect test. Like, in even if you fail the test, you still pass the test. So what's the point of the test in the first place?
no, I love that. Let me ask you this, Devin. Is there ever a recommendation that you see within that recommendations tab within Google that's ever worthwhile to apply in order to increase your optimization score?
If I may just talk about recommendations in general, um, imagine you are going to a restaurant and you're having a seat, and you ask the waiter, "What do you recommend that I have?" If he's a good waiter, he's going to ask you a little bit about your tastes, and he's going to recommend something that's good for you. That is the essence of a great recommendation. Or like if you have a friend that knows you really well and you ask him to recommend something to watch on Netflix, they are the recommendations that you trust. But what you would not trust is a waiter who gives the same exact recommendation to every single person that he meets, right? If he tells every single person, if they're vegan or if they eat meat or whatever, he's just recommending the same pasta all the time, that's kind of a shady waiter. Or maybe if Netflix is just recommending that you watch one show because it knows that that's the show that it basically needs to spend the least money on to show you, that would be kind of a shady recommendation. So when you look at the recommendations tab, there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. First of all of those recommendations there, if we go into 80% of Google Ads accounts, we see the same recommendations over and over and over again. Those are usually the garbage ones. Those are usually the ones that you want to ignore. The good ones, I think, is when Google Ads maybe finds a good keyword for you, or maybe they suggest something that you were planning on doing anyway, and they kind of remind you about it. So, for example, adding a site link extension could really help with improving your click-through rate. Adding that new keyword could actually bring you new clients. But then you're also going to find a lot of recommendations that don't make any sense whatsoever. So there's a couple that say just you should change your bidding strategy, or just switch to automated bidding, switch to maximize conversions. Well, no data points, nothing. And they promise you these magic words. They always say this. They say, you might be missing out on customers. You should definitely switch. It's so beautiful how they word that.
They have good lawyers on staff, let's say that.
Yeah, they have very good lawyers on staff. So it is not a guarantee that it's going to work, but it's just enough to make you think as a business owner, as somebody who likes taking risks. You're thinking, I could spend a little bit Well, you don't even know that you're spending more, but I could just make this flip this one switch and hopefully I'll get some clients. And that's how they hook you.
Yeah, you mentioned something about they have like a psychologist on staff. They definitely have people on staff that understand user behavior and how to design the interface in order to maximize and squeeze as much juice out of the lemon, which is your money, and increase the revenue for Google. So, yeah, at the end of the day, do you really want to go with the general recommendations that typically the recommendation of a waiter that's going to be recommending you the most expensive dishes, not necessarily the best dishes for you?
For you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
exactly.
And I will also say this. If we think about the psychology behind it, I had one of my dearest grannies. She's passed away now, but I absolutely loved her to bits. But the problem with my granny was we could not ever take her to the casino, right? So she would go there and she'd have like $20 to spend, and then she'd win like $2,000. And then after winning like $2,000, okay, Granny, it's time to go. Let's leave the casino. Nah, she would spend out the whole $2,000 and make sure that she came back with zero, absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, we have some business owners as well that believe falsely that if they spend more money on ads, they're doing something good. They're kind of putting the coins into that slot machine. But the one thing you need to understand, there's a very fine line between doing digital marketing and actually applying logic and common sense to what you're doing, and just gambling with your money on ads in the hopes that one day something good is going to happen in your business. One is very smart, it's tactical, and it's how you grow a business. The other is kind of just like throwing away money and hoping something will happen, and that's never a good formula. It's a good formula for going broke.
Yeah, exactly. Now let me tie in another thing that's a hot topic when it comes to the recommendations. Auto apply recommendation, AARs. What are your thoughts on that? Would you ever select that or recommend clients to use auto apply recommendations? Because that's what Google wants you to use. And they make it as easy as clicking a button in your email to just select all the auto apply to make optimizations in your Google Ads account for you.
Never, ever, 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 ever in your life. Never. I don't care if you're at a party. I don't care if you're at a funeral. I don't care if you just got married. I don't care if you're on a honeymoon. Never push that auto apply all recommendations button. Please, people. If you're going to do that, you're admitting two things. Number one, you do not have time to run your ads. And if you don't have time to run your ads, hire somebody very smart like Michelle. She can run your ads. She charges a fair fee, and she has the time to look at these things with an expert eye, right? Or what you can do is just say, I don't have time right now. I'll come back to this when it's quiet. I know sometimes business owners say they never have a quiet moment during the day, but when you're waking up, when you're starting your day, you generally have time to check emails, and that's the best time when you can check your recommendations to see if they're on point. Another thing that I want to touch on is somebody might be watching this and saying, Devon and Michelle, you're speaking very broadly about these recommendations, but how would I know, as somebody who's never ran Google Ads as a professional, how would I exactly know like which ones are the right ones and which ones are the wrong ones? So I'm going to tell you this, and it's going to be the truest words that you ever hear. The real gold in any Google Ads account is not what's happening in your recommendations tab. The real gold is going to be found by going through your reports, your search terms reports, your keyword reports, your demographic reports, and figuring out who those people are that are converting. Now, I hate to tell you this because we live in a world of AI. We live in a world where everything is super fast, super easy. But applying auto recommendations is the fastest way to get into trouble with Google Ads. It's the fastest way to get bad results with Google Ads. And I've had so many of my students do it.
Oh my goodness. I have a quick story to share. I have inherited a few Google Ads accounts in the past from clients that had previous ad managers running them. And I go ahead and I set up my Google Ads campaign, and or maybe I've tweaked their existing campaign because it was working pretty decently. Then maybe a month or two later, I log in, and then all of a sudden I see all these new keywords added. I see the budget go up by 5 times. I see, random audiences, applied. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Because no one else has access to the account.
Yes.
Besides me, the client, and Google. So I didn't make these changes. It's either the client or Google. And then I go in and I see the auto apply recommendation button was enabled. So it was my fault that I didn't see that this tiny setting hidden in the back was
Yep.
enabled, and that just completely destroyed the momentum. And the thing that made it really frustrating was that you cannot undo those changes. So you had to manually go in and
You have to
see,
go dig out and figure out where those changes have been applied. It's absolutely
yeah,
horrible.
exactly. So
Yeah.
any ad managers that's watching this, if you inherit a Google Ads account and it was campaigns in there that were managed by someone else, but you did things to enhance it and further optimize it, definitely check your recommendations tab and make sure that the auto apply is not enabled, because you do not want to log in one day and see at 3:55 a.m. in the morning Google making changes. And that's the thing, Google will make the changes early in the morning so you won't have time to catch it in time. They do that on purpose while you're sleeping. So that's the
Yeah.
frustrating thing. And
I'll also say this in closing as well. Sometimes what I notice is, and we had this because I know like people who are running Google Ads, you can be kind of naughty in and of yourselves. Never mind Google, right? So sometimes I've had a couple of business owners in my community that they were like, okay, Devon, you're giving me this advice, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go and apply the recommendations. I'm not gonna tell you about it, right? And then because they trust Google, they trust the whole AI thing. And so what happens is the clients would come back to me and they'd say to me, Devon, my ads, I'm not getting any leads. I'm not getting any calls. What's going
you
on?
look at the
And I'd
change
look at them and
history.
I'd look at them and I say to them, yeah, so what is going on? They're like, and you know what? For the past week, it's been really quiet. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Let's go see why it's quiet. So open up the change history tab. And I say to them, oh, somebody clicked auto apply recommendation. And they're like, in what? Me? No, that couldn't have been me. I must have clicked it by accident. Well, let me tell you this, if you're a business owner, sometimes you can work against your own marketing team. Sometimes you can literally hire a human being, pay them money, and then do things behind their back in your Google Ads account. And you're literally making their job harder because they're trying to save you money and Google Ads is trying to spend your money. And so if you're listening to both of them at the same time, it's going to create a headache. So what I always tell my students is, if you're going to listen to me, listen to me. If you're going to listen to the Google ad reps, listen to them. But don't listen to both of us at the same time, because what's going to happen is your account is just going to look like a mess because you're
Yeah.
listening to both sides of the
Yeah.
of the
It's
thing.
yeah, because it's conflicting advice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I personally, um, I'm just floored at, seeing, some of these recommendations. And, Google will call clients behind my back and say, oh, your optimization score is really low. We need to do something about it. It's a 911
Panic.
emergency. And then the client freaks out. It's almost like a scam call, like if you get like
Yep.
those scam calls, they
Yeah.
create so much urgency. They want you to,
True.
Zelle them or Venmo $10,000 right away, or
Yeah.
else your grandma's going to get murdered, or, something along the lines of
Yeah.
that. Google
Yeah.
has these reps using a similar type of tactic where they create a huge sense of urgency and say, oh, you know what? All you have to do is just go to your recommendations tab, just check all these things, apply it, and then you'll be good to go.
You'll be
I
good.
have a hot take. I have another hot take. I created a video on this, and that will be going live pretty soon as well, if it's not already live already. And it's that over optimizing your account will actually lead you to failure faster than if you just like gave it more breathing room. And the problem with
That's
these
true.
auto apply recommendations is you're over optimizing. If you just go ahead and select things, you're not really thinking through on the strategy. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to dump all the spices on the chicken and hope that it tastes good in the end. And then you put it in the oven, you open the oven and you check every 2 minutes. You change the settings on the temperature, and then you're expecting to get a really great result. When you make optimizations, they have to be strategic and they also have to be done not too many things at a time. Just small changes so that you know if something tanks, what was the thing that made it tank? Because if you make all these changes, you're not going to know what was the thing that dramatically decreased or increased your performance. So,
I'll tell you a funny story about that because even as somebody who's been doing Google Ads for the past 8 years, it actually just happened to me 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, I started running a demand gen ad because I wanted to get my YouTube ads back up and running, and I put it on a $25 per day budget. And on the first day, spent a whole bunch of money and I got zero conversions. And I'm like, what's the matter? This is the same um, YouTube ad that I've always been running. Why is it not, converting anymore? And what I forgot was I made so many changes. I completely swapped out the landing page, forgot about it. I had a completely new, untested ad, forgot about it, and just threw everything in there. And so what happened was I said to myself, okay, this is a little bit too quick. And I went back and I just went with what I know that worked. So I went to the landing page that I know converts, and I went to the ad that I know converts. And yesterday, I got 2 signups. Today, I got 3 signups. Cost per conversion is at about $11, $11.50. And it's so hard to explain to somebody because as a business owner, you are in the business of getting results, right? But when it comes to Google Ads, even AI powered Google Ads, it takes time for Google to learn what people like, what they don't like, what people respond to your ads, what people don't respond to your ads, what people are going to be effective to advertise, and what people are not going to be effective to. And there's no amount of money that you can spend. You can decide you want to spend $1 million on day one. It's not going to change the reality. Every single AI on the planet needs data. If you don't feed that AI data over a certain amount of time, it's just not going to produce the result that you want.
I love that. I love that. Just to tie this all up, I am going to land the plane on this conversation with a rapid fire round. So, Devin, are you ready for me to ask you some random PPC questions, share your personal opinion within 1 to 2 sentences each?
So ready.
Okay, ready. Let's go. Do you believe match types are going to be going away in the next 5 years?
They will definitely be gone in the next 2 years
Okay. Why do you believe that?
because the way that Google's going, even phrase and exact match aren't really working for advertisers anymore. So advertisers are going to give up on it. Google's going to notice that and switch them out with zero match types. That's just what's going to happen because we're going to stop using them.
Well, I have a hot take, and the hot take is even though there's phrase and exact match, they're all broad match anyway
Broad.
these days. Everything is broad these days.
Everything is broad.
Everything is broad. Okay, so what's your take on AI Max?
AI Max is going to be a big fat failure. We're going to see a whole bunch of people who are influential in the PPC space say, oh, it's amazing, it's amazing. But when small advertisers go and try it out, it's just not going to work, as usual.
What do you say to people who act on advice from Google reps?
Stop. Stop what you're doing. You're naughty. Go sit down, sit in the corner, breathe deeply, come back to your senses, ask yourself, is it worth it? Or, here's another hot take, if your Google rep is so confident that he can get you results, ask him that after you do this, could you have a call with him in another 2 weeks and discuss the results and stuff? And he'll say, yes, yes, yes. But when you try and reach him, you probably never get the same guy.
He'll
That's
ghost you.
because they're doing this to everyone else. They're doing this
Yeah,
to everyone.
exactly. Exactly. I had a client that had their performance tank because of a Google rep, and then they were so mad. They were getting great lead volume. And it just completely tanked. And then he was so mad. He was like, let me talk to your manager. The manager wasn't
Yeah.
even able to resolve anything. So
Yeah.
there you go. These people have never run Google ads before.
True.
Let's let's jump into the second to last question that I have for you. Is there ever an argument to count page views as a conversion?
If you're running a blog and you're getting paid for the advertising that's running on that blog, then yes, you may count a page view as a conversion. But in most cases, it is the dumbest thing that you could possibly do in Google Ads. Unless you really get paid a lot for your blog articles, most cases, it's the dumbest thing that you could do for Google Ads.
If you're a lead generation advertiser, it's not a good it's not you're setting yourself up for failure because you're overcounting conversions. They're not even real. It's just people that have
Yeah.
landed on your landing page.
Yeah.
All right. Should you bid on your own brand name?
Ooh, yes, you should put on your own brand name. Um, yeah, you should bet on your own brand name. I don't like it. I know it feels weird. I know you feel like you deserve that space to yourself, but unfortunately, your competitors are not going to hold back. So you want to be part of the conversation. Even if the conversation is happening on your lawn, you still want to be a part of that conversation happening on your lawn. You wouldn't have a whole bunch of business owners put signs up outside your dealership, right? You'd want your sign up next to them. And that's why you should bid on your own name.
And let me tell you this, even if your competitors are not bidding on your name, Google is going to let your competitors bid on your brand name. If you've checked your search terms report lately and you're using phrase match keywords and broad match, you will see that some of the keywords that you'll be matching to are competitor names. And we have a lot to thank Google for that because it's just a wild west now when it comes to serving
Wonderful
you even
AI.
for yeah, and I know it's like super frustrating for a lot of lawyers too, because in some states, bidding on competitors is not necessarily illegal, but then it's something that's frowned upon, like within like
Frowned upon.
the state bar.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that has come up, but yeah, I mean, the only way to combat that is just try to go exact match. But then when you go exact match, you're not going to get any volume. And I don't know if I shared with this with you recently, Devin, but I had a campaign that I launched probably, and this is derailing the conversation just a little bit, but I had a campaign that I launched maybe about a month ago, launched everything in exact match so I could have as much control as possible. It was a
Yeah.
local lead generation campaign. For the first 2 days, it was crickets. Just maybe a few impressions here and there, no clicks. I'm just like, come on, these are keywords that have a lot of volume. Okay, let's
Yeah.
move on to phrase match. Okay, it's starting to move a little bit. And then I'm like, oh man, I think that Google, all new campaigns these days, Google is trying to get everyone to go all in on broad
Yes.
match in order to capture as much as possible and show up
Yeah.
and actually get the volume. I have another, the guy that I spoke to yesterday, Pete Bowen, a very good friend of mine, that is a big, PPC veteran. He said he started noticing this change February of this past year of 2025,
Mm.
where
Yeah.
he would launch campaigns in exact match, nothing would happen. And then he would have to slowly trickle in maybe one or two broad match for then Google to be like, okay, I understand you now. Let's start serving.
What's been happening to me is because I've been running Google Ads for my own company for the longest period of time as well is I used to have a campaign that was it was broad, phrase, and exact. It had three ad groups. And what I did
Yeah.
was initially when I taught my Google Ads course, I taught people to have three groups with these and kind of test and compare them to each other. We're talking about this is 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's not now in this climate that we're in. And so what happens with me is I get to do these pretty long-term tests where I can look at it year after year after year because it's my business, it's my data.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've noticed is that little campaign that was phrase match slowly but surely just got a little less ad spend, less ad spend, less ad spend, and started drying up. And I know that the search terms are still good and the search volume is still good because people
Mm-hmm.
are still searching for Google Ads course or what's the other one called? The free Google Ads thing where you get your
Skill
certification?
shop, skill shop.
Skillshop. People are searching for Skillshop all the time. And yet, if I put that on a phrase match, just dies. Just dies for no
Mm-hmm.
reason. So he's definitely right when he says that. I've been noticing the same.
Yeah, yeah. So Google Ads is always constantly changing, and this is definitely, and they don't make announcements like this. These are just things that happen behind the scenes. So you really need to
On the
have a
sly.
keen eye to be watching out for things like this. And you start noticing what's going on with my search volume. Why are things changing so much? Why are my click through rates tanking so bad? Like, I have a campaign right now that the click through rate has tanked. It went from like a 6% to like a 3%. But what I started noticing was the broad match keywords in there were just matching to the wild, wild west. So the intent is just really reaching super far out. And Google wants to show that impression so that it has a chance of making some revenue. But at the
Yeah.
in the end of the day, the intent is so far from what you want it to be. But using exact and phrase these days to get results has become so much more difficult.
And
That
I'm going to go
playbook
on a
is,
side.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, you were saying that playbook is?
that playbook is pretty much almost gone. I really hate to say
Yeah.
that.
Sadly. And I'm going to go on a little side tangent over here because there's a new announcement from YouTube that YouTube will now serve a YouTube ad at the most crucial point of a video. Okay, this is part of YouTube's new ad technology. So, right when you want to watch the YouTube video, right where the saucy bit is, the parts that everybody's fast forwarding to, YouTube has now got this new technology that's going to show the ad immediately after that moment or immediately before that moment. And I was showing this to my one friend who's not an advertiser. All he does is watch YouTube. He's still got the free YouTube plan, so he doesn't get to skip ads. He has to look through the ads. And I told him, I think YouTube's gonna be impossible to watch. It's gonna be impossible for you to just sit down and watch because of so many ads being shown. And he said, man, this is so unfair. It's so unfair that we have to watch all these ads. And I said, even from my point of view as an advertiser, I'm the guy paying for the ads, right? I don't even want my ads to show that much because most of the time when an ad is shown to somebody, it's irrelevant. And all of us advertisers, we want the same thing. Yes, we want to show the ad, but we only want to show it to somebody who's not being bothered by it, who actually wants the
Wants it.
product or the service. And what these big corporations are doing, like Google is, they're perverting it and saying, oh, so what you're really saying is you want us to show your ads all the time. No, we don't want that. We only want you to show our ads to somebody who really needs our product or our service. And that's the part where it's just not making sense anymore.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, Devin. Oh, I have a final question for you, and then we can tie things up and land the plane here. Do you use ad blockers? Be honest.
No, I do not. I solemnly swear I do not use ad blockers. I do not use any ad blockers. And the reason why I don't use any ad blockers is because I have YouTube Premium. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You are an honest, good Samaritan. You don't need to use ad blockers. I don't use ad blockers, but it's because we're in this industry where we need to be seeing ads so that we can
Yeah.
improve on ads for clients so that we can get new fresh ideas. Using an ad blocker would be a disservice, but maybe it might be good and like, the weekend or evening
Yeah.
when you don't really want to see the
When
ads,
you need to
but
switch off, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
exactly. But it is important for what we do. So I just wanted to see if you would admit anything, but I believe you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, Devin, let everyone know the best place to contact you. I'll drop the links to contact you below, but let us know the best place to contact you.
Yeah, so for the past 7 years, what I've been doing is I've been helping small business owners really find a place where they can figure out their ads and cut through all of this mumbo jumbo and really figure out how to run ads effectively. And so if you're a business owner and you maybe have a tiny budget and you just want to see if Google Ads is for you, my advice would be go to thefeedbackcircle.com. When you go to thefeedbackcircle.com, you will have access to my community. You'll see everything I do over there, and you'll see all my courses as well. And yeah, I love chilling with business owners. I love helping them figure out their ads, but most importantly, I like having these conversations that I'm having with Michelle right now and telling people that optimization score is garbage. So yeah, that's my thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Devin, for joining me. I'm sure this is not going to be the last video. You will see him again in the future. And we'll go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Bye, guys.